I'm a drummer in my head, right? I'm like Sheila E.'s second coming in my head. Welcome again to the Daily Huddle. We're talking today about what do you do when somebody rejects your beliefs? And it's important to know. It's important to know what we're dealing with. That's one of the reasons why I keep going back to etymology with you guys, because a lot of times when you understand the history or the come from of certain words, then you can kind of relax a little about, or get more serious, maybe depending on the situation, about what it is that you're saying and how attached we are to the meanings that we imbue certain things and how they've come to get those meanings. So before we begin, I was saying that, the gospel, when there's some traditions that are tasked with spreading the gospel. It's not just Christians. And the word gospel comes from, etymologically, good story, God spell, good story. And we are always spinning a yard. Our lives, our actions, our beliefs, our patterns, our relationships, those are all ways in which we spin a good story about who we say that we are and our place in the world. And so the title of today's conversation about what do you do when somebody rejects your beliefs, yes, it may apply to when you are expressing your belief about your spirituality, about your place in the world, etc. But it's really undergirding the foundation of all of the stories that you spin about yourself and other people and their place in it, right? So let me guide you through, let me give you some things to think about so that we can have this conversation in a cogent way. The way that, for example, you grew up, the way you were conceived. There are some people that were conceived in love, that it was just this swirl of emotions. And then there were some people that were just conceived because, I just got home from work and it's Tuesday. And then there were some people that were conceived in violence. Then there were some people that were, when mom found out that she was pregnant, this was a great and welcome surprise. And then for others, it was a huge inconvenience or a source of shame or an interruption into otherwise interesting plans, etc. So the way that you were conceived and how that pregnancy went gives you a lot of insight into your subconscious conversation about yourself. Okay, let's begin there. So if the way that you were conceived was, this thing is not going to go anywhere. I keep trying to put it down, but it's not going anywhere. There she goes. If your story was conceived, if your existence was conceived in joy and anticipation and pride, and you were just the apple of your daddy's eye and all this other stuff, then you can understand why somebody that began their story in that way would have it like their place in the world is welcome and they are not afraid to take up space. And they don't have much to prove because they already know they were born pre-approved, kind of like how the Citibank billboards used to say back in the day. And when somebody comes along that does not have that story, that perhaps did not begin that way, and does not assume that about themselves or others, when somebody whose origin story is, I am a welcome blessing, meets somebody whose origin story is, I'm an unfortunate inconvenience, then the way this person takes up space may trigger this person's insecurities. And the way this person is cold and heartless about the world, if they are cold and heartless about the world, may surprise and sometimes even discourage this person when they meet, when they get in a relationship, etc. But here's what happens, and I have shared this with you before, the diamond and the dung analogy. Do you remember the diamond and the dung analogy? Put a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. If you've been here long enough, you probably heard me talk about the diamond and the dung. Put a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. The diamond and the dung.
That's the diamond and the what?
Dung, like crap, like
Oh, the diamond and the dung.
like
Okay.
excrement. Okay, briefly, if you were to put your hands together like this, like in a fist away from one another, and you would imagine that on your right, in your right fist, you have the grossest, disgusting a piece of dung, dung. Okay, I'm trying, child. I'm trying not to use profanity. Uh, if you were to assume that this was who you authentically were, a piece of dung, then you would spend a lot of time covering that up and saying, I don't want you to see this. I don't want you to get close. I don't want to admit that this is what's underneath it, right? However, if you had it like you inside the left, yes, poop, thank you, Robin. Uh, if you had it like inside of your left fist, you had the most amazing, shiny, induplicable diamond. And this was the essence of your identity. You couldn't wait to open up and reveal and share and assume that other people, let me see your diamond, right? It would be curiosity. It would be a welcoming energy about your relationships with other people in the world. And so what happens is that we are at all times, we are deciding, just like Christ asked Peter in the Bible, who do you say that I am? And at all times, the circumstance is asking you, who do you say that you are? Who do you say that you are? Your life, your relationships, your circumstances, all asking you, who do you say that you are? And you open up to that particular circumstance or that relationship with the assumption that you're operating from your diamond or your dung. And when you spread out your hands like this, and other people, let's say that we're all in the world and the planet or whatever, and everybody spreads out their hands, when you reach out to somebody else, the hand that's reaching out with the diamond is reaching out to somebody's dung, right? And the hand that it has your dung is reaching out to somebody's diamond. Now, why is that important? Because the only way that you can alchemize your thinking that you're dung is by having diamond be modeled for you. And the only way that you can reach out and help someone else and lift someone else is when you are operating from your greatness. It requires that duality. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Child, this came to me when I was fasting 1 year. And I've never dropped the analogy since because it makes complete, total sense to me. So, what story are you spinning? Are you spinning the story of I am a diamond in the rough? I am, operating from my greatness. I'm going to see myself the way God sees me. And I'm going to see other people the way God sees other people. Or are you operating from, I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut in this world? Just, small and oh God, let's just suffer through this. Right? And then everybody else is like, what? An impediment to your agenda? Right? That's why sometimes we act like some people are just inconveniences. Like sometimes you'll be driving down the road. For those of you that live in Atlanta, somebody will cut you off at some point. Somebody's gonna cut you off. Now that could be a source of great chagrin, or you could just get tickled at how humanity thinks. It could just, everybody's just running their own agenda. Bless you, sir. I hope you get there safely. Ciao. Robin says, I think this is like the guy who was so humbled until he acknowledged his humility. Well, once again, we start getting into etymology. Humility, that's another sermon for another Sunday. This is what I've been practicing lately. Yes. Um, so here's what I have discovered, and you tell me if you've had a similar experience, because we're gonna start talking about this. You know how when I'm about to get crass, so you're gonna have to just be patient with me. But you know how when you have you have to go to number 2. And you go to the bathroom and you do your business and you get out and you're like, where the heck is the air freshener? Because this is just, I cannot leave it like this. So you just spray a whole bunch of air freshener around the place, whatever, trying to cover up the scene of the crime. Right?
Got to get some poopery.
Right, exactly. But spray as you might. Everybody knows what you did in there. You can't fake that funk, right? And so sometimes we operate like that. We think, oh, I'm actually underneath it. I'm a piece of shit. Oh man, I went and did it. I was trying to go 20 minutes without using a profanity. Underneath it, I'm this, but I'm just gonna dress it up with diplomas, with marrying the right person, with getting the right house, with getting the right job, with making the right money, with wearing the right stuff, with attending the proper organizations or schools, or having the right amount of children, or speaking the right way. You know. Whereas when you operate from the diamond place, like you can just show up butt bickety naked. And there's no apology, there's no preface, there's no epilogue. It just is what it is. And I was sharing with somebody yesterday that Spirit doesn't have a problem with ego. You know, it's kind of like the cute little annoying sister. It's like, come on, man, you'll grow up soon enough. But ego is always trying to usurp Spirit. That's the story of Cain and Abel. That's the story of Scar and Mustafa. That is a perennial archetypal story. And so what do you do when somebody rejects your beliefs? It depends on what you think those beliefs mean. Because if you're operating from I'm a piece of dung, they're rejecting the story. And then what are you left with? Except this thing to confront. But when you're in your diamond and somebody rejects your beliefs, you're unassailable. You still have the essence of you still have the essence of them. And now we can get curious about the story instead of just using it to cover up the scene of the crime. So I want to talk to you about this. When have you experienced yourself? And don't spiritualize the answer to this question, okay? I don't want you to sound like all evolved and holy and sanctified. I want to really like roll up your sleeves and get serious with me on this, okay? When have you experienced yourself at your highest? Like this is, if you could just freeze that moment, that was the best version of you. You're most intelligent, you're most patient, you're most like, oh, Jesus would be proud, or Allah would be proud, or whoever, right? Like this is it. Just pack me up in this and let me live like this forever. When was that for you? To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, for me recently, it was when COVID hit and the you know what was hitting the fan. My sister was dealing with her husband's recent ALS diagnosis. My father was recently diagnosed with late onset leukemia, and she was about to get furloughed from her work, and she had 2 toddlers at home. She was losing her mind, and she was like, everybody's at home. I can't get anything done. Everybody needs me. I only have 2 arms. Somebody help." And I said, "I'll be right down." And I packed up my stuff and I told my husband, I was like, I gotta go see about a girl. And I went and I got to my sister's house and I spent, I think it was like a good week with her or whatever. Just kind of helping and setting the mood and talking to people and coaching them through stuff and helping with dinner and helping with the kids, et cetera, et cetera. And I was watching myself like, you selfless little angel. What a great thing to do. And that she called for help, right? Because sometimes people suffer through it. And that you said yes. And that it was welcome and that it was appreciated. And like it was just, given the unfortunate circumstances, it was the best that we could make of things. So that's what I mean about when were you like at your apex of your sanctity, of your genius, of your like that, right? Rose, you got something?
Yes, that's so great. So good morning, everyone. You know, I'm never, well, I can't say never, but I can't remember ever being present to when I'm operating in my greatness until afterwards.
Okay.
It's always like a reflect back
Okay.
to say, oh, wow, that was amazing. But while it's happening,
That's a great point. Yeah.
it's just happening.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
So in
And
hindsight,
the big question that I have in the background
hmm
has always has been, it's like, what's my unanswerable question that I've lived with is, how come I've never, I don't know, it's almost like I've been afraid to actually step into the fullness of my greatness.
Ooh. Ooh, she went to the basement and took out all the toys. Okay, yes. Yes, absolutely. And is it unanswerable or has it just not been answered yet?
Well, obviously, I'm afraid to answer it
Why? What do you think is going to be there if you open up the dung
because
fish?
then I'll have to do it. I'll have to be that.
Now we're talking, Rose.
I'll
Now
have to be
we,
accountable for that.
yes. Okay. Come on, get serious. Yes, I love it. That's right.
It's just putting the truth on the table. You've
That's
encouraged
exactly
me to
right.
do that.
That's exactly right. No, I don't want to be the best of me. Then you're gonna
It's,
expect it. Then I have to get better and better, and then
I
I have to be
know.
selfish. And sometimes I just want to be ratchet. And no, I don't. I'm not into it. I get
Yes, it's
it.
quiet behind the scenes. I will help you.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said, I was in a course once and they said, pick one word to describe yourself. And you know what I picked?
Wow.
Kingmaker,
Ooh. Mm,
never the king.
right. Ooh. I'm just really liking this transparency, Rose. Wait a
Well,
second.
thank you. I figured you encouraged it. So I said, let me just put it on the table. If not now, when? I'm not, my hair's
Mhm.
not going to turn brown again.
Well, listen. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Rose. Thank you
Thank
for that.
you.
I appreciate you. Wow, that's awesome. The conversation about like I just okay, I have all this greatness, but okay, let it just sit there then. Who was next? Was it Florence or Laura? Let me see. Ladies, speak up. Who which?
Okay, so I think I was next. So I'm gonna go. Morning, everyone, and thanks for this beautiful conversation.
Yes.
Um, After COVID, also, like just about a day or two after COVID, but I felt resurrected because my birthday was on resurrection morning in COVID, 12th of April.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was resurrected, actually resurrected from the dead. But
Wow.
then just those days after that, I felt at my best. Nobody realized how sick I was or that I was just near to death or anything like that. And my voice was really strong. And I was getting intuition to call people that I would not call usually. And everyone I called was going, I'm so glad you called. One was ready to commit suicide. One was asking, the question, why did God take her sister instead of her?
Oh,
One was saying she's a socialite and I am not really, and she was saying how lonely she is. And everyone I called, really, like, I responded to spirit saying, call this person, call this person, call this person. And I felt that my, like, this is me
mm-hmm.
at my peak.
Mm.
But I did not feel arrogant. I just feel blessed to be able to respond
Yeah.
to that. That my voice was able, I like, if I felt spirit speaking through me to all these people, and
Mm-hmm.
that was like the highest, like, point of my life. I've never really experienced that before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So even in your sickness and in your
Yes.
down for the count type of deal, you still
Yes.
found a way to contribute and to be. to be
Yeah.
connected. That's awesome. Thank you, Florence. That's great.
Yeah. That year I met myself. I met the original. I met the person I believe I was meant to be. I came to be.
Wow, what a great way
Yeah.
to put it.
Yeah. Best year of my life.
Wow. The year I fell on my butt was the best year of my life. That's an amazing reframe. I love it. Laura, you still have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Greetings.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for this conversation. So just this weekend on Sunday, we were going to celebrate my son's grandmother's 96th birthday.
Mhm.
So the Saturday I was asked to make some fried fish, which is our original Easter food back home. So we had a little party Saturday night. And my son's father mentioned that he's going to visit his mom and that he would order some food. So I said to him, would you like me to make some rice and beans? He said, no. Sorry for the noise in the background. I'm babysitting. So he said, no. And I'm getting ready to go. I called. He's not on his way to pick me up. And I'm like, "Where food? Oh, I'm not sure." So I said, leave it to me. Leave it to me. Immediately I jumped into action. My sister was with me and I said, what can I make so fast? And I said, okay, let me make some spinach rice. That's the fastest thing I can do.
Mhm.
And in might be less than 20 minutes, I had a pot of spinach rice. I had earlier got up and made a fruit cake. And my sister kept saying, I don't understand. How could you do this so quick? And I said, it's the oven. It's not me. It's the oven. And I really, take this for granted because I can do it and really don't acknowledge myself for being able to cook or do things fast in the kitchen. I was in the restaurant business before, so I learned to move fast and do things fast. But when we got to the party, they were like so shocked that we came there prepared with food to celebrate this beautiful woman's 96th birthday. Anyway, I'm complete. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. The reason I asked you all that question, and everybody in the audience, whether you're here with us on YouTube or Facebook, by the way, since we go together, since you're here, you might as well just hit the like button and the subscribe button, because that way you can be notified of when we go live and participate in these discussions. One of the reasons why I asked that question is because if you've ever noticed, the times when we feel at our lowest, when we think the worst of ourselves, or when we've been disappointed with ourselves, or whatever the case may be, it's really difficult to get out of the story, or to have the perspective of who you have been in those apex moments, right? Because they're so contrasting. But it is just like when you spread out your hands like this, and your diamond reaches out to somebody else's dung, and your dung reaches out to somebody else's diamond. In the same way, this is the way that you heal yourself. This is the way that you support yourself in getting out of your own funk. It's not by spraying enough air freshener. That's just gonna cover up the stuff, right? But it's really about the integration of that diamond and the dung situation. What do you do when somebody rejects your story, which rejects you, rejects your relationship, rejects what you have to offer, et cetera, et cetera? You come back to self. And the way that this culture has spoken about that has been as though you are a consolation prize. Like, what you're supposed to do is be out there and be with friends, or be with family, or be with your spouse or partner, blah, blah, blah. And if there isn't somebody out there that you can use as a bucket to dump your insecurities and get your validation from, if you have no bucket, then okay, I guess you could just be your own best friend. But it's spoken as though it is a thanks, Robin. it's spoken as though it is a consolation, like you are your own consolation prize, as opposed to your best treasure. You take you wherever you go. You are with you through it all. Nobody knows your story like you know your story. That's the reason why you can spin it differently to different people, depending on what you're trying to get out of the relationship. But you know whether you're spinning or not. So I'm going to encourage you to connect with, this is the homework for today. I'm going to encourage you to connect with the part of you that is the diamond. Tell that story. Who are you at your best? What do you think God was thinking about when God said, you know, it'd be a good idea is if we send Robin down there, or if we send Florence down there, if we send, you know what I mean, like that. Yes, Laura, you take you wherever you go. And so what was the apex of humanity that is embodied in who you are? Yeah. And that way, when you get to those dung moments, because there are just moments, have you noticed? They're just moments. They're not definitive indictments into who you are. When you get to those places, you can do this for yourself. You can reach out, and when you open up about the dung that you've created, you can come back to self and honor yourself with the diamond that you are. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Recently, my like for about like 6
Who's
months
that?
ago, 6 months,
Who's speaking?
Florence.
Oh, hey.
About 6 months, I had been under like, oh heavens, I didn't think that it's like I began to think, oh my God, when is this going to end? When is this going to end? And the only thing that took me through is I started saying, diamond is made, but because of a lot of pressure on carbon. And I started saying, well, okay, first of all, I know God is with me in this pressurized state that I'm in. I'm the carbon, and maybe people will have to put on sunglasses to look at the diamond that's being created. And I just said, okay, as every time the harder it got, the more I leaned into that I am going to be a really, really bright diamond. I mean, like, as I said, you have to put on sunglasses to observe the diamond. And that's what took me through that period for the last 6 months. Even though I'm coming on here and everything, it was really rough.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you again, Florence. That's awesome that you get that, right? That it's like, this is the insight, and sometimes it only comes in hindsight. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about what the essence is of who you are, and what was God thinking when they decided that you were the best answer, that you were the best man or woman for the job. And so as you move through that, remember, of course, to always love generously, to laugh a lot, to give of yourself, your time, and your energy, your attention, stress less, sleep more, eat more plant-based foods, move your body. Remember that twerking is a Kundalini raising exercise. I'm always going to remind you of that, because we over-sexualize and over-punish our natural tendencies. So I want you to remember that even twerking is a spiritual exercise. And always audit your assumptions. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. In the good word of the good Ice Cube. Thanks everybody for being here. See you next time.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, everyone. Excellent job. Bye.